Imagine standing inside a modern operating room. The steady hum of monitors, the sterile blue drapes, and the sharp, polished gleam of robotic arms. Everything screams high-tech, futuristic progress. But there is a silent history vibrating through these tools that dates back a millennium. Every single surgery performed in the world today, at this very second, rests upon the bedrock of techniques and inventions created by one man who lived over 1,000 years ago. We often look at progress as a linear climb led by modern pioneers, forgetting that the essential methods used to save lives right now were birthed in a time and place many in the West have overlooked. The tools held by every leading surgeon are ghosts of an ancient brilliance that transitioned from bone saws and brute force to true biological mastery. This is not just a lesson in medicine, it is a resurrection of a truth obscured by time. We are talking about the true father of surgery, whose signature is written in every scar on earth. The journey begins in the year 936, in the lush and vibrant valley of Al-Zahrawi, near Cordoba in Islamic Spain. At this historical crossroads, Islamic Spain, better known as Al-Andalus, shone like a lone beacon of logic, philosophy, and medical insight amidst the Dark Ages. It was here that Abulcasis Al-Zahrawi was born, blooming in a culture of immense intellectual inquiry. Known later in Europe as Abulcasis, he rose to become the royal physician of the Caliph Al-Hakam II. Unlike other aristocrats of the medical world, Al-Zahrawi combined theoretical medical research with visceral, practical clinical experience. He wasn't satisfied with existing theory. He transformed surgery into a discipline where science met craft. Growing up in the cultural crown of Andalusia, a city of libraries and public lighting, while other capitals were mud and candles, he absorbed the ancient Greek medical works and revolutionized them with the emerging rigor of Islamic observational science. Before Al-Zahrawi, the term surgery was synonymous with terror. Imagine a world where medical procedures were largely left to barbers or traveling executioners who practiced by intuition, often doing more harm than good. In Europe during the Dark Ages, internal surgery was feared as a dangerous, barbaric, and almost sacrilegious practice, with almost impossible mortality rates due to the raw ways infection and trauma were managed. Opening the body was seen as entering a realm of death. Yet, here stood one man in Cordoba who declared that surgery could be precise, methodical, and profoundly compassionate. Al-Zahrawi shifted the surgeon's role from a butcher to a high practitioner of art and care. He insisted on a deep, fundamental understanding of anatomy as a prerequisite for anyone attempting to hold a blade, effectively building the bridge over which the surgical world eventually crossed from the realm of myths into the glorious territory of scientific salvation. Consider the mechanical perfection of modern instruments, how light they feel, and how perfectly they perform. Al-Zahrawi single-handedly conceptualized, designed, and popularized over 200 surgical instruments that would form the core DNA of the modern surgical tray. These weren't crude gadgets, they were refined, deliberate solutions to age-old biological problems. He was the one who pioneered the modern scalpel for delicate skin incisions, refined various versions of surgical forceps for removing foreign items or aiding births, and revolutionized surgical needles. Perhaps most startlingly, he invented the catgut suture for deep internal stitching after observing how certain strings can be safely absorbed by the body. He applied logic where there was once panic. Each tool, documented through careful anatomical drawing in his work, created a legacy of precision instruments that, even as materials have changed, carry the same essential mechanics today in hospitals from London to Dubai and New York. Al-Zahrawi did not just sharpen steel, he reimagined the physics of health. He was centuries ahead of his time, recorded as one of the very first to successfully practice internal surgical medicine. He pioneered goiter operations centuries before others dared touch the sensitive structures of the throat, revolutionized the approach to bladder stones, and practiced precise cataracts eye surgery using needles. His grasp of complex issues didn't stop at physical injuries. He described various labor positions and is often credited as the scholar whose findings led to better outcomes for obstetric traumas and historical caesarean procedures long before modern sanitation existed. Beyond physical cutting, he innovated pharmaceutical practices within surgeries to manage pain, being one of the first in medical literature to truly suggest surgical intervention should be balanced by pharmaceutical anesthesia and anatomical hygiene protocols that preserved the life of the patient first. But how did a surgeon from 10th century Cordoba reshape our world specifically? The answer lies within his gargantuan 3-volume masterpiece, Al-Tasrif. This massive encyclopedia became the beating heart of world surgery. The segment of the work dedicated solely to surgical practice was a visual and instructional guide filled with vivid diagrams that gave a technical grammar to anyone who wanted to become a healer. When translated into Latin in the 12th century, the Al-Tasrif swept through the medieval medical academies of Bologna, Montpellier, and Salerno. It shattered existing myths and became the singular, authoritative orthopedic and medical handbook used throughout European universities for well over 500 consecutive years. For half a millennium, the absolute knowledge required to fix an arm, treat a fracture, or stitch a wound across 2 continents flowed from the pen of a man who visualized modern health back when Cordoba was the shining sun of Al-Andalus. Imagine a student graduating from med school today. He puts on his gown, grips his forceps, and finishes a repair with fine synthetic sutures. In many ways, his entire hand belongs to history. There is a deep, profound tragedy in the silence that surrounds Al-Zahrawi's name. We have forgotten that Western medicine was reborn by building upon the giant shoulders of the Arabic Golden Age of science. Every modern surgeon alive in our chaotic 21st century owes a structural debt to a giant from another civilization, whose name remains obscure outside history books, even while they reach for the very shapes and logic he perfected in a desert villa long ago. He wanted a surgeon's spirit to be humble, disciplined, and forever curious. Today, when human beings can repair a failing heart or replace a limb, they do it by echoing the steps Al-Zahrawi left, inscribed on paper 1,000 orbits ago, across the shifting sands and marble corridors of the great city of Al-Zahra. We walk through high-tech hospitals, but breathe a historic air we rarely stop to acknowledge. This man didn't just study biology, he studied life's fragility and gave mankind the tools to defend against early mortality and suffering. Next time you see or hear of a surgical miracles happening across our planet, or when the sterile smell of the operation theater fills a hallway, stop for just one humble moment and remember Al-Zahrawi of Cordoba. He is a forgotten architectural ghost dwelling in the cold curves of our scalpels. We use his life's work to preserve our families, while we have seemingly let his own story fade into the background. Let us carry forward the name of a master who sought to see into the depth of the body. To study Al-Zahrawi is not just to witness history, but to pay respect to our shared human inheritance. Share this revelation, look for his influence in the tools of health around us today, and join the chorus that shouts for Al-Zahrawi's legacy.